all the clips I'll play, I'll try to keep under 2 minutes long. And what I want to do with this thing is where I want to look at this notion that both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are two wings on the same bird, and there's no difference in the two parties. Both parties have similar interests when it comes to certain things, but similar doesn't mean the same. Similar interest, for example, when it comes to the military. Both parties co-sign the invasion and occupation of other countries for reasons that are up to no good. A lot of similarities, but not the same. And the biggest similarity the two parties have is that they're both essentially the children of Lucifer himself. And when I say Democrat and Republican, I'm also talking about the subgroups within those parties. For instance, you have the neoconservatives, or the Tea Party, that comes under the name Republican. On the Democratic side, you have the libertarians or the progressives under the name of the Democratic Party. It's a lot of subgroups within those two parties, and they don't all get along with each other, so there's infighting.
You're not just gonna let him die like that, are you?
My shoulder angel.
Don't listen to that guy. He's trying to lead you down the path of righteousness. I'm gonna lead you down the path that rocks.
But what I wanted to do is address the lie that the two parties are the same. Because again, similarities don't mean the same. So I wanted to point out a few differences in the parties. A few what I'll call core differences in the two parties. And yes, this commentary will be biased as hell. Partisan as fuck, because I don't like the Republican Party. And not for reasons that are feeling based, but because of what that party stands for. One of the reasons I've called the Democratic Party the party of the people. You'll never see the Republican Party kneeling before the people like this. This was their response to the people out in the streets breaking things. Republicans have never responded this way. Here's the Republicans' response to these protests. After a cop guns somebody down in cold blood, the people don't run to Republicans demanding justice. The people run to the Democrats for it. You hear it now, the calls for police reform coming from the mouths of Democrats.
How many more mothers, how many more fathers need to shed tears of grief before we do something?
An unlikely place for a protest.
I will ask that all of my colleagues join me on the floor.
To try and quell the sit-in, Republican leaders then shut off the House's television cameras.
Or 4 years ago with the sit-in in response to people who were demanding something be done about gun violence. Now, I don't like the gun control talk. It makes me sick, but this response reflects who the Democrats have as constituents, their voter base. Even the racial diversity can be seen. It's visual, whereas in the Republican Party, not so much.
On Portland and other cities that are experiencing violence, there was a report out this morning that you're considering sending 175 federal troops to these cities to help local law enforcement. Can you fill us in on that?
It depends on what your definition of troops is. I mean, we're sending law enforcement. Portland was totally out of control. The Democrats, the liberal Democrats running the place, had no idea what they were doing. They were ripping down for 51 days, ripping down that city, destroying the city, looting it. The level of corruption and what was going on there is incredible. And then the governor comes, oh, we don't need any help. All run by Democrats, all run by very liberal Democrats, all run really by radical left. But we can't let this happen to the cities. And then the police are afraid to do anything. I know New York very well. I know the police very well, New York's finest. And the fact is, they're restricted from doing anything. They can't do anything.
So what are you planning on doing?
Well, I'm going to do something, that I can tell you.
More federal law enforcement to some of these
We're
cities?
going to have more federal law enforcement, that I can tell you. In Portland, they've done a fantastic job. They've been there 3 days, and they really have done a fantastic job in a very short period of time. No problem. They grab them, a lot of people in jail. They're leaders. These are anarchists. These are not protesters. People say protesters. These people are anarchists. They're afraid of these people. That's the reason they don't want us to help them. They're afraid. I really believe they're actually maybe even physically afraid of these people, because what they're doing is incredible. We didn't just go there. This wasn't like it started right away. We went there after 51 days. We said, we can't let that happen anymore. But these are anarchists. And the politicians out there, yes, they're weak, but they're afraid of these people. They're actually afraid of these people. And that's why they say, we don't want the federal government helping.
Or in other words, Democratic-ran cities are where the people are who are sick and tired of being sick and tired are located. Democrat-ran cities are where the people are who are fed up with the police lawlessness and fed up with the system in general. In the Democratic Party, there's especially an intolerance when it comes to racism and racists who are like-minded with people like racist Richard Spencer.
He's become kind of a symbol.
You're not going to see no Confederate flags at the DNC rally. Both parties do have races in it, but Republicans have way more races in it than the Democratic Party. And the racists in the Democratic Party hides their racism, whereas in the Republican Party, they're more outward about it. And to hide it, it speaks to the atmosphere within the Democratic Party where they know better than to be seen as racist.
And I keep saying I'm independent. And I guess I have to prove that I'm no longer a conservative. I don't want to be referred to as a black conservative because I am, for some reason, white Republicans and white conservatives consider me their property. And when I look at the blacks on the left, I look at you in envy because you get to be black. You get to be yourself. You get to say what you want, even if you disagree with each other. White liberals will never do to you what the white conservatives do to me. Listen. Why go whenever you hear whites and blacks say, get off the Democratic plantation? I need you to say, why? And come to yours? At least here I'm free. In the Republican plantation, you're not allowed to be black, okay? You can't have, see, if white Republicans and conservatives choose a black leader, they expect all blacks on the conservative plantation to follow that leader. If you don't, they'll whip ya. I know this came from my domination days where I used to whip the alt-right.
The stimulus bills, complaints from the public about big corporations being bailed out, and the yelling is, look what the Democrats let happen. Again, Democrats expected to be the ones to protect the people, but these expectations are not imposed on the Republicans. And even though both parties included sweet deals for big businesses in these bills, Democrats is the party who people are angry with for agreeing with these deals.